a bath running in the background and a kid and stuff like that because I'm a 38-year-old adult with a kid. It happens. Anyway, so this is the tactical version of the Andorian Escort. A couple people have met this in PvP. I've had good success with this build in PvE as well. I've averaged about 80 to 90 DPS and ISA, single target, and that is single target overall. It peaks at about 300k DPS single target, which is pretty much insane. So we'll put it in the single target build. Mostly the ship is built for PvP, but it is very effective in PvE as well. So just a couple things here I'm looking at. In the 4, we have the Terran Task Force Disruptors dual heavy cannons. Now, I have not re-engineered anything. These are all the specs I've had on these weapons from the start. And, hey, it works. So I got the Terran Task Force dual disruptors. I have 3 Disruptor dual heavy cannons, Mark 14 elites, of course. This one has crit damage and damage, crit damage 2 and damage, and crit damage and damage. Ideally, I would probably go with damage times 3 on these, but it is what it is. This is what I have. This character is not the richest when it comes to, well, anything. So she gets what she gets. But anyway, so these are the Terran Task Force, 3 Disruptors, the Nausicaan Energy Torpedo up front for the 2-piece bonus. So as you look at the 2-piece bonus for that, Disruptor Net gains 805.5 Disruptor damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. If I were to throw a beam on, I would get the extra Disruptor damage, but again, this is a cannon build, so no beams. So Deflector. I'm using the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector Array. I use this on pretty much everything right now. Reason being is I got the Colony Crit with Drain X times 2, Emergency EPS as well. It's just an excellent deflector, probably the best deflector in the game for anything other than a science ship at this point. Impulse engines. I'm using the prevailing innervated impulse engines. I am working towards the 2-piece engine and shields for this, but right now I'm just using the engines. Reason being, as you look there, upon activating firing mode bridge officer abilities, so that's torp spread or rapid fire or torpedo spread, or cannon spread, you got 350% flight speed, 350% turn rate, plus 15 defense, and plus 10% increased recharge speed on tactical bridge officer abilities. You can't beat it, honestly, for mobility, and just it's an excellent proc. Warp core. I am using the Iconian Resistance Hyper-Injected Warp Core. Ideally, I would use the Fleet Warp Core, but I don't have that on this character. But still, the Iconian set is still a good Warp Core to use. Shields right now, I'm using the Iconian, so currently I have the Iconian 2-piece, which gives me Distribute Shields, applies 150 shield regeneration for 5 seconds to each facing once triggered. Happens once every 30 seconds. It's a nice little bonus 2-piece. It helps a little bit on survivability, but like I said, what I'm going to move to is a 2-piece prevailing. And the 2-piece set for that is plus 15 hull, 15 control, and 15 weapon specialization, so it'll improve crit chance. So it'll be a really good, nice DPS boost. In the back, I'm using the heavy biomolecular disruptor turret. Now, brief note here while I'm on this, there's a disruptor version and a phaser version of this turret. I'm getting the 2-piece bonus because I'm using this turret along with this console, which gives basically flat damage across the board, along with some projectile damage. So if I were using the quantum phase set and being phaser instead of disruptor, I would use the quantum torpedo, I would use the phaser version of this, and I would still use this console, which comes from, I believe, Surface Tension, which is a mission on the Dyson Sphere. Now, I would probably always run the Terran Task Force Disruptors, even with a phaser build, just because it's, again, the Terran Task Force Disruptors and Beam are simply the hardest hitting weapons in game right now. And if I was going to run phasers, I would probably run pulse phasers, because they have a disruptor-like proc, and they also buff your resistance. So it'd be a good weapon to use there. And then I'm using the kinetic cutting beam. Again, it's a beam, but it gives you the 2-piece bonus from the assimilated console. which 2.5% chance when firing uninjured weapons to get plus 10 power, plus 500 weapon power drain resistance, minus 500 weapon power cost. That comes a lot, and the kinetic cutting beam hits hard. Experimental weapon, I'm running the experimental railgun off the Allied Escorts. I also will use Voice of the Prophets for PvE. I use the railgun in PvP because it shoots faster, so even though it does less damage per hit, it has more DPS overall. As you're looking here, you're going to see this does to primary target 10,600 physical damage, then to 3 additional foes 5,000. So in PvE environment where there's enemies grouped up, that's a great kinetic weapon to use. So I'll use Voice of Prophets in PvE. Devices, I have red matter capacitor. I do not have the subspace field resistance one. I forgot which mission it comes from. It's one of the early ones. And if I did have it, I would use that instead of a weapons battery. Engineering, I'm running a conductive RCS Resol for more turn rate, damage resistance, and when healed, you get more turn rate and shield resistance. The assimilated console for crit chance, crit severity, weapon power setting, damage control, and the 2-piece bonus. I have the 2-piece Terran set, so I'm using the ferrofluid hydraulic assembly. Sometimes I might switch out for that console for either sustained radiant field if I'm up against in PvP and I'm up against someone that's doing a little bit more damage than I am and I want a little bit extra heals. Or if it's really bad, I might throw this on there and just pop that right before entering any combat because then it's just a massive amount of healing. Science console, we're using the Nausicaan. Bioneural infusion circles, this is from Lobi. And the Tacky, these are both from Lobi. If you don't have Lobi, don't want to spend Lobi, you can use other consoles. You could throw in that place, you could throw the sustained radiant field, you could put the protomatter, you could use one of the ones from the other ships. You could use, I would probably, let's see if I have it on this one. Yeah, this might be a good one to use. Get a little bit of flight speed, a targeted AoE electrical, and a confuse. You could use Domino, but the problem is Domino's phaser only, so if I was using a phaser build, I would probably use Domino in place of Bioneural. I think, do I have Gateway Trap Spawner? That's a fun one to use. That's more a PvE console, but I could use that. So again, various options. So if you're not, you can also use the Romulan console. 0-point energy, that gives you some crit chance. These consoles I tend to run on any build I have, just because they're very good. A lot of crit severity, turn rate, and hull capacity, etc. Tactical consoles running this one, again, off surface tension, and then running the vulnerability locators. I got 3 of them. Ideally, you could run that, or you could run, do I not have one on here? You could also run the exploiters, which is crit damage, again, based on your crit chance. If you have really high crit chance over 25, for a cannon build, I would probably go with the exploiters over the locators. So, again, it's up to you. If you already have these, I mean, the difference is minimal between those two. And I'm running the point defense bombardment for extra projectile damage and 1% crit chance. And also the clicky is pretty darn good, too. Does a lot of damage, and the final hit it does almost 15k damage. So stat-wise, we're looking at about 39 base resist and 11.2 on the shields, hull of about 68, running 26% crit chance, 37 accuracy, and 140 crit severity, and the turn rate when moving 45.4 degrees per second. This ship, I mean, as we sit here literally spinning in circles, is a really good turning ship. And now to demonstrate, I'm going to go ahead and activate Torp Spread. I'm just going to proc that engine, and it's like a second evasive maneuvers. So there I am, I'm fast. Need to get faster again, proc another, I'm fast again. Really need to go fast, I can hit evasive maneuvers, and then I'll just spit it in place. You know, it's just a fun build. So yeah. And of course you got your pilot maneuvers, which are very handy. When you use the pilot maneuvers, you're immune to damage, so definitely a nice little save my butt. Skill-wise, this is a build that I used for my J. Most people know I have the Enterprise J on here, and I'm using the same one here because I haven't respect yet. So as you scroll down here, you'll see I did not max projectiles. On this ship, I would definitely max projectiles, and I would use the Nausicaan Torp or the Quantum Torp. So again, coming down here, again, mostly tech skills, some engineering to boost survivability, science for long-range targeting sensors, a little EPG, warp core efficiency and potential, shield absorption and a mastery. Absorption is handy because it's triggered by an incoming crit. It restores a portion of your shields. Now what I would do, like I said, is I would move these 3 points from coordination protocol, since this does not use pets, and I would max out advanced tactical readiness, and then take these 2 points and bring them up here to max projectiles. Specializations of just doing intel strategist. You could also do pilot. That'd be very good. If you really want to survive, Miracle Worker's a great spec. It still has decent damage and good healing. Trait-wise, I'm not going to go into it too much. Basically, anything that boosts accuracy, crit, I'm using. Of course, a good day to die. Starship traits, emergency weapon cycle, invincible. Using tactical retreat, honor dead, and promise of ferocity. Space rep. Chrono capacitor reduces bridge officer abilities, which is handy. Bonus damage resistance rating. Crit chance. Destabilizing phase. When damaged, gain immunity to further damage for 3 seconds. Again, it can only happen once every 60 seconds. The main reason you want this is for that cloaking Romulan that just appeared right behind you that you had no idea they were there. It gives you 3 seconds to go, oh crap, and get out of the way. Get out of there, heal up, whatever. And again, advanced targeting systems for crit severity. Active rep. Same stuff you can see in every build, really. Shield generator. Anti-time. Refracting Tetrion, Cascade, Quantum, and Sensor. Stations. Running Tech Pattern Omega 1, Beta 1, Chemosite 1, Rapid Fire 3, Torp Spread 3, Rapid Fire 1 TAC Team, Emergency Power to Engines, Engineering Team, Shield Polarity, Emergency Power to Weapons 3, Hazard Emitters, and Polarized Hull. Alternately, again, if I'm up against someone who does a lot of damage, I'll put on Hold Together, especially if they're using a drain build, because with a drain build, your aux power will probably be drained low, so when you try to pop Hazard Emitters to heal up, or Engineering Team, you're not going to get healed a whole lot. This one is based on your flight speed, so the faster your throttle setting is, the more hit points you get. So you'll see here I'm getting almost 1,200 hit points per second for 8 seconds. So it's actually going to heal you pretty well, plus some damage resistance rating. So again, if you're taking some damage, I would throw that on there instead of the Rapid Fire 1. You're going to lose a little bit of damage, just because you don't have 2 Rapid Fires available to you. But really, I mean, you'll just be without it for 10 seconds. You can live. And then Bridge Officers. For this one, I'm using Zamak Genro, 2 copies, which recharges the cooldown for Beta and Omega. Emergency Con Holograms, whenever I use emergency power to engines. It refreshes evasive maneuvers. And then Engineering. Chance to reduce recharge time for emergency power to subsystem abilities. And recharge time reduced for Engineering Team and Buff. I could probably use something else for these 2 slots, but I actually really like this combo, because again, this helps reduce the cooldown for emergency power to engines or weapons, and Engineering Team for an Ogrod, I need to heal myself. And in PvE, I keep Rapid Fire 3, and switch this one to Scatter Volley 1. So I'll use Scatter Volley for groups of ads, and then if it's just a boss, Rapid Fire 3. So again, and I say, like I said, using just Rapid Fire 3, 1 copy, I'm peaking a lot of damage. So needless to say, it's a very high damage DPS ability. And then Scatter is okay. It's a 90-degree arc, so it's handy for PvE. And in PvP, if they have a lot of ads, I might run it. And if you're running 2 copies, so if you're running this and that, and you have the NX, you might think about using preferential targeting, where Fire at Will or Cannon Scatter Volley empower Beam Overload and Rapid Fire. So what that would do is running that, you'd pop Scatter first, and then that will then make Rapid Fire 3 more powerful. And lots of different options using a pilot slot here with TAC. You can use Fly Apart, TAC Pattern Lambda. You know, it's a great ship. This is definitely the funnest Escort I've used in STO, hands down. It's just fun, good damage. Just to finish it off, let's see if it ends online for a quick PvP challenge. Breaking. Let's see. I won't tell them that they're on YouTube right now. Shh, don't tell anyone. They'll see it later when I put it on Discord. No bites. Could do a red alert, I guess. We'll leave it like that. Because everyone wants to see a ship in action. And put some sound on. And of course, now that I'm trying to get something to pop, it's not going to happen. Come on, Borg Red Alert. You're always the fastest thing in the world. Now, you'll see one thing that happens in PvE using these engines is, again, this being a very fast ship. You'll probably see me overshoot the first cube group I go after. And what I'll do is I'll use pilot maneuvers to then back up, continue firing, or even just come to a stop. And even though you lose some damage from standing still instead of getting the armor pen boost from moving, it's kind of a wash, especially on something easy like a red alert. Alright, so let's go kill some Borg. We'll start on this group and move up that way. So here they are. Next group. So I take most of my damage from warp core explosions, as you see. And now for the pickle. Thank you, Akula, for that way of calling the pickle. I don't know what, I think I used to call it the cigar, but now it will forever be the pickle. Skippy and the USS whatever. Being lazy. But anyway, like I said, fun little ship. And if you guys have any questions on the build, let me know. Oh, another little trip real quick here. A lot of you complain about leaving a red alert and ending up back on Earth. Use this button. Using leave map now takes you right back to wherever you were. If you hit exit to sector, it takes you to sector space around Earth space dock, even if you're a Klingon, which is really annoying. Alright guys, hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, let me know. For those I'm going up against the PvP competition, there will be some changes to this build. Planned changes. But at least you have an idea of what you're up against. So have a great day, everyone.